everyone. Thank you so much for joining. I'm Joe Peterson. I am the Vice President of Cloud and Security for Clarify 360, and I'm the Chief Analyst at ClearTech Research. And we're here today with ClearTech Loop. We're on the move and in the know. And I've got a great guest with me today. I've got Nick Moy. Hi, Nick.
Hey, how's it going? Thanks for having me on.
Hey, thanks for being here. Y'all don't know Nick, you should. He is the co-founder and CIO of LifeMark Financial. Nick has more than 15 years of experience in both IT and security in the financial industry, and he holds several technical certifications. And y'all know this, financial institutions, and understandably so, spend the most money on cybersecurity, right? It's the largest portion of their, you know, security is the largest portion of their IT budgets in that vertical in particular. So we're here to talk today about AI security. And Nick is part of a very tech forward organization. And I want to sort of get his thinking on a couple of thoughts that have been floating in my mind, and I know floating in some of y'all's. So first question, Nick, how can cybersecurity professionals really leverage generative AI to kind of break out of what's been happening for a while, traditional tools and this tech mindset, and drive more innovative thinking and execution in their security programs?
Yeah, no, great question, Joe. AI is obviously rapidly growing, and we're kind of at an interesting point where everyone wants to figure out how they can best adopt it into their day-to-day life and day-to-day workflow. And we're seeing a lot of progression within AI. It's not, I think there's still a lot of kinks to be worked out just because it's so new. I mean, it was like 3 years ago that I think GPT-3's first model went open and available for people to start testing with. And since then, there's been so much progression. There's so much money being poured into this within the sector. So, when we think about how that kind of ties in with security professionals and how they can use this in their day-to-day life, I think that there's still some areas for improvement within what AI is capable of doing. But some of the things that I've seen actually working today is on the GRC side of like developing procedures. When I've done this before without, AI's help, it's always, all right, I need to get a template that's pre-existing and kind of see what I want to take away from this, piece it together and build something new out of this that is custom fit for the organization that I'm with. With AI, you can technically say, hey, this is the organization, this is the industry, these are the regulations that are applicable to us. Help me come up with this type of policy. And that's one easy way where it can kind of generate that content and apply it right there. And then you can take that and modify. Like I never say, take exactly what you get from, ChatGPT or whatever and spit it into the organization. But it's a good starting foundation where you don't have writer's block and you really just can start being more efficient with your time and kind of work from that. So that's one area. Another thing is on the SecOps side of things, right? So how you're, diagnosing different issues, as data's coming in, if you have a lot to weed through. And that's one thing that SecOps people have to deal with all the time is, just all the different signals coming in. They have to look at the different logs and everything. And so it's easier if you can pop some of that into, an AI system and have the AI system kind of call out things that are, red flags immediately and, higher level priority items for you to kind of focus on. So that's one area that I've kind of seen it, being more applicable and reliable as far as the security side of it goes. And then my personal favorite is on the threat modeling side of things. So I'm a security architect by trade, DevSecOps specialist. And so we do a lot of threat modeling. And a lot of risk analysis, prior to build out and then as we're building out software and building out cloud environments. And so that's another opportunity where AI can really kind of help out with, design, implementation, or different risk scenarios that need to be talked about when you're going through that process. So
I not just love the idea that, it suggests a remediation path. I can remember being a young engineer, always having to go to my supervisor going, excuse me, is this a problem? Excuse me. Now it's a way to help train the more junior on the team, I think. And show them a path like, okay, well, you want to prioritize this because this is a real problem, for example, versus what do I prioritize? I've got so many logs to look at, right? So that's kind of a cool thing.
Yeah.
But great answer. Thank you.
Yeah.
So, next question, fairly or unfairly, security gets known as the Department of No. Uh, fairly or unfairly.
Yep.
So,
It's label.
it's just, it's like the cowboy with the good white hat, the cowboy with the black hat, right? And we're the black hat bearing, gear cowboys. So, how can organizations embed security and privacy controls into AI model development without sort of slowing down that innovation and excitement that the teams want to keep going?
Yeah. So that's a really great question. And I think that this is something, again, just because of how new this type of technology is being as far as rolled out and introduced into the public. Um, I think that there's still a lot of things to be found and discovered, with when it comes to vulnerabilities and how do we catch these things. I was looking into this a couple of months ago, and one thing that I really liked is what OWASP is doing. They have their AI project that they're working on, and they're putting out a lot of really good resources that I think will help cybersecurity leaders with a starting place. And that's really what we need is just to get that 30,000-foot overview and try to figure out, all right, here's a baseline roadmap I can start. Here's some call outs on risks that could be applicable to my organization and some remediation strategies I can put in place and security controls I can put in place to prevent these things from happening. And I think what they're doing over there, it's either very aggressive, they're working on it every month, and there's more and more, white papers, cheat sheets, different, open source tools that they're even releasing as well, that you can see how it kind of fits into the model as your organization's kind of looking to pump out, AI to the people within the company. So yeah.
You make a really good point because we're so accustomed to traditional security frameworks,
Yeah.
and AI doesn't necessarily behave that way. And if you bump up a traditional security framework that you may have deployed at your organization, I believe that there's going to be gaps that exist in each of the domains where it comes to AI, right? So
Yes.
that's a really good point, is to keep educating yourself, keep checking these trusted sources like OWASP
Yeah.
for any tools that they can, share to help you on your journey, because nobody knows this cold and we're all sort of learning,
Right. Right.
right? We just are. Um, I think this next question is particularly good for you because you're in a CIO role, but you've done lots of security, right? So that
Mhm.
gives you an extra edge, I think.
Yeah.
Um, how should a CISO and or a CIO be thinking about AI adoption in terms of its use to both secure emerging threats and then also from an organizational governance perspective?
Yeah. So I think this is a pretty big concern that, people need to start thinking about, with all these different AI tools being embedded in so many different things that we have been using for so long. It's been like a new feature rollout. Hey, buy my product because we're
Mhm.
powered by AI. Um, but I think, a lot of people maybe still are missing the thought of, okay, well, where's that data going? If my employee puts this confidential information, these, maybe it's a customer's info or trade secrets or whatever, pertaining to a project that they're working on, and they pump it into an AI chat system, where is that being shipped out to? What
Mhm.
type, where could that be exploited, right? And so there are some new tools that are coming out to kind of catch that and really, govern what should be vetted and allowed to the employees and to the contractors within an organization. Nudge security. I don't know if you guys have heard of, if anyone here has heard of that one, but they look like they're doing something pretty cool as far as, providing that oversight and that granular control over what exactly employees will have access to from an AI perspective. What tools should they be using and what have you. So I kind of like that from that day-to-day ops side. It kind of reminds me of like a CASB tool or something like that for the
Yeah,
cloud. You know what I mean?
yeah,
Uh,
for sure.
But then I think from an architectural perspective, we have to think about this too. Especially if you're an organization that's building out a custom LLM, uh,
Mhm.
or an MCP or something like that. Like, where's this thing actually being connected to? What are the third parties that may have access to this? Just really thinking through some of that stuff and making sure that, like you would do a traditional threat model on an
Mhm.
application development, or you have your different controls on a DevSecOps pipeline. Kind of think through that as well for AI. It's similar. It's software, um, but there's some new evolutions to it, and so just kind of build off of that framework.
That's a good way to think about it.
Yeah.
Well, great answers to some evolving questions and questions that are on folks' minds. So thank you for taking time out of your day to visit. And
Absolutely.
everyone, thank you for taking time to join. And we will see you next time.
Thanks, Joe.